Awesome, all you? Great, thank you. Good morning, everyone. We've heard a lot about inclusion, and I want you to think about inclusion and your definition. We all have slightly different definitions, and that's from our experience. And I challenge you today to think about diversity and inclusion and include people with disabilities in that. Oftentimes, I think the population of people with disabilities becomes overlooked. We think about racial diversity, we think about gender diversity, age diversity, but do we think about people with disabilities in that diverse community? The US Census Bureau tells us that people with disabilities is the largest minority population in the United States. The Social Security Administration predicts that 25% of today's 20-year-olds will have a disability by the time they retire. And that's age 69 for them. 25%. And further, the National Eye Institute estimates that the number of people with eye disease will increase by 200% by the year 2040. 200%. These are staggering statistics. And I never thought I would be included in this statistical population. And yet almost 10 years ago, right before my 25th birthday, my kidneys, liver, and pancreas shut down and the oxygen was cut off to my retinas. Virtually overnight, I went from being a normal 24-year-old to being blind. And I knew nothing about blindness, nothing about functionally being a blind person, using technology, working as a blind person. And all of that changed. It was an immediate crash course with no alternative. And the change was beyond anything I could have expected. So the first step was to get some skills. I went to an adult rehabilitation center for the blind where I learned how to do everything non-visually. Cooking, cleaning, traveling, Braille, using a computer, and all of that was to get me back in the workforce. And we all know how hard it is to look for a job. It's one of the hardest things you can ever do. And it was even harder as a blind person, a newly blind person. It was hard to be rejected because of my blindness. It was hard to keep looking for that job. And I know that there are laws against that, but the truth is it still happens today, where people are excluded for a number of different reasons. And the fact is that I also don't want to work somewhere where I am not wanted or appreciated for my abilities. Eventually I found a position, not what I expected, and I took a part-time job for a vending company. I started out doing telemarketing a couple days a week from home. I'm one of those odd ducks. I love telemarketing. It's a numbers game. It's fun. People think I'm crazy, but and in a couple of months they figured out not only was I very good at what I was doing, but I wanted to do more, and I was more than capable of doing more. And I became their marketing director, training their sales staff and the sales staff of the sister company. And it was a great way for me to get back on my feet, to gain my own confidence back. But it wasn't a career. And a couple years later, I found myself looking for another position, thinking, maybe the federal government is the place to be for me. It's supposed to be great for people with disabilities. We have Section 508, which is part of the Rehabilitation Act. And as of 1998, it stipulates that all federal agencies are required to ensure accessibility of their electronic and information technology for persons with disabilities. So I had this pie-in-the-sky idea that I would be able to do my job as well as any of my other colleagues who are not assistive technology users. And I came to the National Institutes of Health in 2011 with this idea of access and equal access at that. And what I found was that was not exactly the case. I was surprised to find that we still have a long way to go. The federal government has done a great job of ensuring that their public-facing websites are accessible. But on the back end, systems, communications, products and services that we're both procuring and developing, we have a long way to go. And you might be thinking, why is this relevant to me? I don't work in the federal space. And I would argue that it's relevant to everyone, particularly in the tech industry, who's looking to be successful. Those numbers that I started with about disabilities are real. The number of people with disabilities is on the rise. And it was that lack of knowledge and education that really spurred me on. I started a group at the National Institutes of Health called the Three Blind Mice. We are a blind and low vision resource sharing group. And the point is to educate people, to be a resource to one another, to talk about technology, how it affects us, and how we can be a community voice for improvement. For those who are in the private sector, we've seen companies who work to integrate accessibility and inclusion into their technology, and the financial benefits are real. The return on investment is real. We've also seen companies that have been further incentivized by our justice system to do just that. And that loss is real. By thinking about access and inclusion in technology, particularly for persons with disabilities, you're opening yourself up to a whole nother market to grow your business. Today, technology is so ingrained in everything that we do. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to be without technology for an hour, for a day, and much less a lifetime. When we think about access, we think about usability, technology, of where we are today, we're also planning for our future by making a difference in today's actions and usability. At some point, everyone in this room will be affected by disability. It may be as an individual, it may be as a spouse, it may be as a partner, it may be because your parents are affected or a child is affected, but disability will touch all of us. And if we make that investment now, we're not only planning for our own future, but the future of those around us. We want the ability to work for as long as we choose. It affects us financially. It affects our economy. And the fact is that when you think about accessibility, when you think about usability, it benefits all populations. At the end of the day, the word inclusion is an action word. Diversity alone does not cut it. And to be inclusive, it means seeking out people who are different. And that cross-section includes people with disabilities. There are a number of stigmas that still exist. And today I ask you to challenge yourself, challenge your own notion of inclusion. Put those words into action, whether it's on the street, whether it's in your professional job, and certainly within the tech industry. It will make a difference. October is National Disability Awareness Month, and this year's theme is #InclusionWorks. So if you're tweeting today, #InclusionWorks. This is the future, and I ask you all, again, the challenge is expand your definition of inclusion. Think about people with disabilities in a different way, but we are part of that diverse group of people. And disability does not discriminate. It is the one thing that breaches all barriers, whether it's gender, whether it's ethnicity. We welcome everyone, whether you want to or not. So thank you all very much for allowing me to be here today. This is a great venue, a great opportunity, and as we look forward to the future and reaching out, inclusion is the way to success in IT. So thank you.